Hello and welcome. This is Jim Coppin with Rankin Technical College. This video is about JQuery. It's an introduction to JQuery. So for our course this semester, fall 2025 course, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, the book chapter 10 has some JQuery, introduces a little to JQuery. So I kind of wanted to kind of go through some of the concepts as far as JQuery is concerned. So let's look at Wikipedia regarding jQuery. Get a little background here. So jQuery is a JavaScript library designed to simplify HTML DOM, which is a document object model, right? We talked about that a little bit already. So you can walk that DOM and you can make changes to that dynamically, and it's designed, and the library is designed to simplify the whole process, as well as doing animation and event handling, etc. Okay. It's been free as of, as of 2022. jQuery is used by 77% of the 10 million most popular websites. Now, even though it's still very prevalent in many websites, as far as a lot of new development, because that's kind of changed a little bit as far as jQuery was very popular back when you had different browsers and there was a lot of inconsistency. It was a way to write code and you didn't have to worry about all the differences between the browsers. That was one of the biggest things with jQuery. But in recent times, that has kind of changed. Also, there's certain functionality that jQuery has that they introduced to make things really simple that the original JavaScript specification did not have. But as time's gone on, that specification has grown, and the functionality for the basic JavaScript, underlying JavaScript has really caught up with a lot of those areas. So jQuery on a lot of new projects, you'll see jQuery as much as you once did. But if you go get a job somewhere, you're going to have there's going to be a pretty good chance at some point in time you're going to be working on some website, especially if you're doing a lot of front end development that uses jQuery, just because it's very prevalent, especially from historically and a lot of companies, once they create something, they don't, every time something changes, they don't redo everything, right? It's not economically possible, not feasible to do that, right? So, and there's nothing wrong with continuing to use it if it's working for you, right? So sometimes, though, websites go through periods where they're going to do some serious functionality changes, so then they just upgrade it. They may use a different framework. So there's a lot more frameworks available nowadays. Plus, I said, some of the stuff that jQuery did really well that the overall specification lacked, that's kind of changed a little bit as well. So just kind of wanted to give you a little background. It's still very widely used. A lot of new development, not so much on brand new development, but a lot of existing websites, you're going to see a lot of jQuery. And especially the way it kind of works also in the industry is if you're working somewhere and everybody has jQuery knowledge, right? Because if they're supporting a bunch of websites that have already have jQuery, they already have that knowledge there. So it's easy if they're going to do something new sometimes just to do jQuery as well. So there's that factor as well. Just things to keep in mind. It was originally released in 2006, so it's 19 years old. And they released the latest version in August of 2025. So, it's still an active project, and like I said, very widely used, but not so much as far as from new development because of changes and new frameworks available, and just a lot of the special stuff that jQuery did really well can be done in just regular JavaScript now. So, all right. So let's look at jQuery a little bit. So jQuery is a fast, lightweight JavaScript library that simplifies HTML document manipulation, event handling, animations, and AJAX interactions. The AJAX interactions is where You can use JavaScript to actually make calls from outside of your page, like over the wire, over the network to maybe a backend server, just from your JavaScript, directly from your JavaScript. You can make calls just to update things. You click a button, it could go make a call, come back and update. Just doing that. That's kind of called Ajax. We're not going to look at that a lot this semester, but just kind of wanted to bring that up. But key benefits of jQuery, it's very simplicity, cross-browser compatibility, fast. It's a very powerful CSS style selectors, built-in animations, and there's a large community of support because it's been used for so many years. Plus, there's all these special plugins that you can use. So I remember years ago I actually created back when things were a little different, like HTML. Now you can actually have integrate, like adding a social security number and stuff like that. You had a long time ago. You had to mask it. You had to do a lot of things. So I actually created a plugin for a social security number for a web page. So that was something I did. It was just a plug that we used internally. But so I have some experience using jQuery. Getting started with jQuery. So we kind of already looked at how to kind of bring things in. So for jQuery, you can either use what's called the CDN, which is the Content Delivery Network. Okay. And what you do there is you can just actually bring the code right in. And if you're going to do it, this isn't the exact way to do that, but let's go look real quick. So if you go to releases.jquery.com, or you just go to the jQuery website. So if you go to the root, that's going to go there though. So if you just go to the jQuery website, right, you can go click on download here, right, download, and this is going to come to the jQuery download page, and then you can either download jQuery. So this looks like this is the latest stable version. So you can basically click this, and you take this, and you can just save this. Right click, save as, and you can save this to your computer. The other way is to click the little three dots up here, right? And then click on, let's see, where am I at here? There we go. Things have changed a little bit. Sorry, I kind of had a little moment there. So basically, yeah, you can click the three dots, come down to this is from Chrome, cast, save, share, then save page as, okay? And then you can just save it to your downloads folder like this, just hit save, and then that will be the code. So you can use this. So you can see it kind of looks all scrunched together. This is how it works for a minimal, this is called a min version. So it takes up less space. The more extra spaces you have and everything else, it takes up more space as far as from a file size standpoint. So this is just called a min version. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. You can use it like that. You can just save that right into your directory structure within Visual Studio Code and use it. The other option, okay, is to close that by mistake there. All right. The other option is to come down, and so you go up here, the download page, come all the way down here and choose CDN. So click on this by the releases.jquery.com. And then in here, you can go ahead and select the version. So here's kind of the latest, the Core 3.7. There's also other things as well, but you don't really, for what purposes we have, they broke out some other functionality, but for us, we just need the core stuff. So you can just click on this minified here, and it will show you the script, and you could take this, all right, and you can come over here and copy this. So just copy that to clipboard, and then right inside your code, let me go grab something here. Real quick here. Just go all the way down to the bottom here. So, you know, just right here down to the bottom, you can just cut and paste it right down in here. Okay. I have something else going on here, but just before your body tag, kind of ignore that first one there, but you just go ahead and do that. And so what this is doing is this is going to bring this, you know, this is a fully qualified path, right? So this is where that exists. It will bring this in, and it will bring this in. It won't bring it into like your code base right here. It's not bringing it into your code, but when you run it within your browser, it will download that within the browser's memory, okay? So the browser has the you know, holds on to things, right? It has memory. So it'll hold it within there, and so you can use it. Once you're done, you close it, then that's it, right? Or the other thing is, I did that download. You could do that download where you download that file, and you could just drop it in your script, and then you just do the same thing as you would normally do. With any other kind of script, you would just go ahead and access it from within your scripts directory, right? So that's the two options there. Okay. All right, let's get back to this real quick. One thing that JavaScript that jQuery uses is this called this document ready. So what it does is you could put, it suggests that you put all your code under this, right? So that you have all your jQuery code under this. So what this means is once the whole document has been loaded within your browser, then execute the JavaScript. Then bring in the JavaScript, right? Because just the way a document works, because you're manipulating, you'll have references to things that you'll be manipulating. And the document I'm talking about is the HTML document, right? So you kind of really bring all your HTML in first. So by you wrapping it with this, it will first, the browser will bring in all the HTML, then it will execute what's in here, okay? And this is a shorter version of that as well. This means the same thing as this, okay? This was the original way they did it in the past. People still do it, but you can also do this as well, you know? Maybe this makes more sense. You kind of, from reading it, you know, you can say, oh yeah, once it's ready, yeah, here, you know, it's kind of hidden what it's doing there, right? So here's a little button, try it. Click, congratulations, your first jQuery code is working, okay? jQuery, so jQuery uses CSS style selectors to find HTML elements. So here we're going to select by element. All right, and this is what it did. It select all, this is how you select all paragraph tags. All paragraph tags from jQuery, that's all you need to do. That will select all paragraph tags on your page. But you may not want to select them all, but if you want to select them all, that's how you can do it, right? Select by ID. This selects this one by ID, and here this one had an example of a ID of demo div, so you're going to use this pound sign, just like what we've done within the CSS. So this is how within jQuery you access a specific div, right? Let's do that again there. The other is the select by class. So we know just how we do a class in CSS, the dot notation before the name of it. This will select. So by here, you're actually selecting by that class name, right? Okay. So here's some examples. Let me even make this a little bigger even. So here's an element. So this is all p tags, right? This is the ID that's called my ID. Here is all elements with the class my class. Here is, so you know we've already done some of the form elements, right? Like a text input type text, right? So an input type text on a form. This will access all elements with a type text, all input type text. This will get the very first p tag. Okay, this will get the very first p tag, and this one will get all even rows of a table, right? TR, table row. This will get all the even ones. Okay. We also talked about DOM manipulation a little bit already, right? So just to kind of review that a little bit. So if you come in here, you go to elements, this is the document object model. Okay, this is the document object model. So this is loaded by the browser, and jQuery has access to everything in here. Okay, has access to everything in here. So here we're going to do some content manipulation. This content will be modified. So we're changing the text. Here we're changing the HTML. Here we're changing a style. Here we're adding a class, adding another class. You can dynamically add another class. And this is just a reset. Okay. Not that you need to know all of these, just kind of showing you a little bit kind of what jQuery can do. That's all this is really all about. So don't worry if this is somewhat confusing, right? So here's an example of just pure JavaScript. And if you're following the assignments along and you've already done a little bit of the JavaScript stuff in the parts of the chapter 10, you know, you already have experiences using the get element by ID. So if you wanted to change the text content, right, the text of this, you'd have to do all of this, right? You have to do all of this to change this. Well, for jQuery, you just do that, okay? Now, there is kind of a shortcut that can be used, but this was always the traditional way. There are ways to do this a little differently now, but I don't want to confuse things. This was kind of the biggest purpose earlier on, so much that why write this when you can write this, right? So here you're changing the HTML. And what you're doing is you can actually insert other. Remember, we used a strong tag in I think one of the assignments when we did a sitemap. We said add a strong tag. So here is the strong tag. And this is actually this will get this element by ID of my ID, and it will add inner HTML. It's going to add this to that. It will add this to that. Okay. And this is using the JavaScript, pure JavaScript, and this is the way with jQuery. Okay. This is with jQuery. Changing a style. So if you want to change the color of the my ID, this is the traditional pure JavaScript way, and this is the way with jQuery. Okay, let's look at this again. This is called event handling. jQuery specifies event handling. An event is clicking something, hovering over that. That's an event, right? That's an event. So here we're going to go ahead and click event. Button was clicked. And this is how you would write a event code. This is how you would write code for that. Basically the ID and dot click function, and then you put whatever you want. In this case, button clicked. Okay. This here is hover. Right. And here you're just typing something. As you type, you can see it's going to put it right in there. Okay. All right. We'll take a look here, a little bit of animations. So this fades in and out. Here's a slide up and down. Here's a show and hide. It's going to hide it. Click it again, show, toggle it back and forth. Here's a custom animation, and I guess there's nothing there, but that's okay. But here was those effects to fade in. This is all you need to do that fade in, right? The fade in, fade out. I guess if I just hit refresh here, and what happens there? Okay, that's fine. There you go. Yeah, it's still working there. Okay, had to refresh it though. But this is the fade in, fade out. Okay, that's all you have to do. That's simple, right? That's simple. Fade in, fade out. Slide down, slide up, and this is doing a little animation, that custom animation. So change all paragraphs to red and hide them. So traditionally, this is how you kind of had to do it. You had to get use what's called, okay, this document, that's a special JavaScript object called the document, right? That's your document object model. You want to get elements by tag name, okay? And you get the p tags. So this will get all the p tags, and it's going to put that in a variable called paragraphs, okay? Then you're sitting here looping through this whole thing. I know that we haven't gotten here. You don't, but eventually we will. But then you had to loop through all of these, and then based on certain things, you're going to color them red and display none, right? Well, instead of doing all this for jQuery, this is all you need to do. Okay, this will get all P elements, all right? And then it will style the color to red, and it'll hide. And it'll all do that all just within that one thing, as opposed to doing all of that, okay? So this is the JavaScript method, and that's the jQuery method, which uses what's called chaining. You're chaining one thing. So basically you're saying, get all P tags, okay? Here it gets all P tags. Get all P tags, that gets all P tags. Then you're saying, okay, so I want to change the CSS, so I'm going to manipulate the CSS, changing the color to red, right? So that's kind of doing that. And then this is, after you do that, you want to hide it. That's doing this. You don't have to use the display or anything like that. So, okay. Try these jQuery tasks. Okay. Change the colors. This ain't working. That's all right. Toggle visibility. I think we already looked at the toggle a little bit. I think that just disappeared. This is kind of accordion style, hides and goes away. Add item. So that adds a new item. Okay. Clear all. Okay. But as we kind of seen, it is can make things a lot simpler, and simpler is always good. Less code to write, right? So now that you know jQuery basics, play around with it a little bit. There's Ajax with jQuery that's a little more complex. There's jQuery plugins. There's also there's separate ones called jQuery Mobile and jQuery UI. And then learn when to use jQuery versus vanilla JavaScript. So, one thing I kind of did mention earlier is one of the reasons not to use jQuery, I guess, is because you got to load that whole file in all the time. You got to load a lot in there, especially if you're using a lot of the complex stuff. You're loading all this JavaScript in, where you may only be using some simple little things that you can do these simple little things just with pure vanilla JavaScript without having to load this whole library of code in. So that's probably one of the bigger reasons that you don't always want to use it. It's different if you're going to be using it throughout, but just to do some simple little things, even if it takes a little more code, might be better off just using some pure vanilla JavaScript. Okay. So that's all I have on that. Just kind of want to do a quick little introduction on that. Don't worry if you don't understand all of that. This is a process. You kind of learn a little here and there, and we'll learn a lot more about jQuery in the second half of this course. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Let me know if you have any questions.